Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen and I work for the product team at Pluralsight Flow. At Pluralsight, we know that software companies are delivering features as quickly as possible. And I have here Christian Arnston, the product manager for Team Sizzle, which is working on features that do just that. What your team did is you built sprint movement, retrospective, and ticket log, and you're seeing that these things are already benefiting your own process. So excited to talk to you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me here, Kathleen.
First question, your own team built the reports and then pretty quickly saw the benefits of them. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, totally. I think traditionally, teams think that they have really great insights into their sprints, their data, and I know that we did. As a team, we spent a lot of time in Jira looking at burn down reports, but it felt like we were never really moving the needle forward. We were getting a lot done, but we were still feeling like something was missing, and that led us to want more context around the data that our delivery module reports surface. We started to understand which developers were struggling, which developers were thriving, what our completion rates were, and ultimately led us to have a really high confidence in what we could deliver.
I love that. And I know that your team starts with sprint movement, then looks at retrospective, and then talks through ticket log. Can you walk me through those reports?
Yeah, absolutely. So here we have our sprint movement report. What we're looking for here is that our team's completion rate is at a reasonable percentage, but not just that our completion rate is high, that our commitment and completed is high. If we didn't hit that committed and completed goal, like something happened, and that's where we want to be able to dig into those details. I also want to pay attention to my added work that was completed. Of the work that was added to the sprint, what effect did that have on our delivery? We take that continuous improvement route or the troubleshooting route. In this case, I would just like to know what sources of drag held us back from hitting our commitment, because we clearly did not. And that's where I jump right into our retrospective. Here, you'll see that we have a lot of high-level KPIs, tickets completed, velocity, which are very common in the industry. But then we have 4 more unique ones. We've got our median cycle time, which is that time that a ticket, from the time a ticket starts to the time it ends, how long it took to complete. Our backflow, which is actually one of my team's favorites, is the number of times a ticket's moving backwards in its workflow. We used to view that as a very negative thing, but now our team has actually been able to hone in and understand, hey, there's appropriate times for a ticket to move backwards. For example, when a ticket moves from out of review backwards to progress, we've caught bugs before they get released to our customers. Those conversations used to be very surface level, but with these metrics, we're able to dig into the gritty details that help us to actually improve. You have queue time, which is another favorite, which is the amount of time a ticket is spending in a waiting state. This allows us to understand where the bottlenecks are happening in our workflow. And lastly, you have jitter. Jitter is the number or the summation of activity that's happening on a ticket.
Before we talk about ticket log, I know that what your team built was this really cool expansion panel experience within retrospective. Can you walk me through that?
Absolutely. So as our team was really using the retrospective and the sprint movement report, we found that some of these metrics were really interesting, but we felt like it was really difficult to dig into the details and how to take action. We needed to provide the ability to dig deep into these metrics and to answer well, why is this metric so high? So let's start with backflow. Backflow, again, is the amount of times a ticket is moving backwards in its transition. There's not always bad reasons for a ticket to be moving backwards. There's also good reasons that it can be moving backwards. And our team, upon building this out, found that out really quickly, and it allowed us to kind of tweak our processes or to highlight areas where maybe our workflow wasn't as seamless as we thought. Our next metric is median queue time. Median queue time is a little less abstract, but the metric itself was presenting you with a time frame. Which of all of our waiting states was that happening in? So we built this expansion so that a team could dig in and say, where exactly are my tickets spending their time? And let's fix one at a time. Our last metric is jitter. Jitter, again, is the summation of all activity and where it's happening on a ticket. This expansion is going to tell you, okay, this is the type of jitter that's happening the most. Maybe you don't care about certain jitter. We give you the ability to say, I don't want to include this, and that's great. to each team their own. We want teams to feel like they can take ownership over these metrics and take action when needed.
I love that. All right, one more thing. Let's talk about the ticket log.
The ticket log is a great experience in our Flow platform. It's a report that ingests all of the ticket data from Jira and then combines that with our Flow data in a table experience that allows the user to filter and understand the data that they want to find. Where my team has gotten the most value out of our ticket log experience has been using this to drive our daily stand-up meetings. Using our ticket log, you can filter it by the sprint, and then you can kind of isolate those ticket states, waiting, in progress, not started, and ensure that what your team is communicating to you in those stand-ups is actually what the report is conveying, instead of, once we get to that finish line feeling like, what happened? The ticket log provides us that daily touch point that helps us to understand how are we doing, how are we progressing towards our commitments.
And that's where the delivery starts to speed up, is your teams are working with each other and talking about statuses.
Exactly, and the reports are just bringing about the truth. It's like, here's the truth of what's going on. How can you as a team rally behind that, or pivot, or what do you need to do to make sure that you are hitting your commitment?
So how often do you typically use these reports?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it differs depending on the user. As a team lead, or I know my tech lead, we find that we will typically use the sprint movement report heavily as a team once every sprint. Usually in our sprint planning, retrospective meeting, that's where we as a team rally. As far as the retrospective comes, I use it multiple times a sprint. It depends on the use case. If I'm looking for, if our team was working on something, for example, we wanted to bring down queue time for something, I want to make sure that come stand up, we can talk about how that's trending. And then ticket log, we use that ticket log as a team very much so during our daily stand-ups. The nice thing about the Flow reports is all of the URLs are shareable. So I will typically generate the report and I'll send it to everybody, and then everybody has that pulled up on their screen when we're talking about what's going on, what they were working on yesterday.
So it sounds like it's a mix of kind of use as needed if you've got a specific situation going on, as well as use at a regular cadence, so you're making sure you're always looking at the same data with the same team.
I typically, as a leader, will use the ticket log daily. It's kind of my sprint in progress health check. I like to know, okay, are we on track? Because the developers have their commitments, but as a product manager, I also am trying to own commitments as well, and I want to know, with ample time, are we on track to do that?
So that makes sense. It's the sprint movement report is what you look at the end of the report and look at how did we do. And then the ticket log is what you look at during the sprint to see how are we currently doing, do we need to change anything around.
Yeah, and the retrospective helps with that as well.
Let's talk about the biggest changes you saw within your team.
Yeah, I really like that question. I think ultimately that's all that matters with any of this, is really our team has felt like they've been able to take ownership over everything. We ask the hard questions, and we know that we can only succeed as a team. I know for me as a product manager, a team lead, I feel like I have the data to make more educated and informed decisions on what I think we should be working towards. And I think ultimately it leads to just a higher morale team. We are excited about what we're working on. We're excited to deliver high quality work, and we take pride in that. And our metrics are showing that.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm very excited to see all the cool features Team Sizzle comes up with.
Oh yeah.